welcome to our first Love Island mini episode. This week we have with us two journalists who are, savants of like other areas of journalism, but also really love Love Island. So we have Carl, who is a sports journo. Say hi, Carl.
Hi. Thank you for having me, Karen. I've always wanted to actually be in this
And
podcast, so
Theo,
thank you.
who like does uh, politics, current affairs, sports, entertainment, everything. But hi, Theo.
Yes, it's a weight mix. Hello! Thank you for inviting me on your podcast. It's exciting.
So, guys, okay, let's just go over what happened this chaotic week in Love Island. Like, Mars,
Wow.
Yeah.
Mars by
We were going
technical
through it.
difficulties, but not like technical difficulties in like me saying my camera doesn't work in a Zoom meeting. Like, this is like a boom falling on a person type technical, but
I think the first episode will go down in history as one of the worst beginning episodes of any reality TV show in SA because we were out here, production is
asking who wants
laughing and
KFC,
just
yo, that killed me. That killed me.
Oh my word. But as a fan, and I'm sure you guys have obviously watched the UK, US, Australia version. Like as a fan, you excitedly telling other people to watch, and then you get that first episode, and my face is just has that cringe look the whole time because I told people to watch, and now I look like a fool.
I
So
actually
that was
had a
kind of
message like
disappointing.
typed out to my nephew saying like come upstairs, come watch, and I never sent it because like as I typed it out and I was planning to send it, and as the episode carried on, I was just like horrified and I just left it and I was like no, I'm not going to tell him to come up here. Okay, so I'm just going to go through what happened this week and then we will go into more detail about, what we thought and, what we think is coming. Okay, so we're introduced to our OG, mostly white group of islanders in the first episode, and they paired up Millie and Jay, Sam and Cage, Rishal and Ian, Eden and Assad, and Tumna and Durang. And then Sierra came in as like a spanner in the works. Durang decided he wanted to get to know Millie as well, which caused some drama between him and Timna. And then both Timna and Millie went off him. Seda decided to couple up with Ian, which left Rochelle single. Xavier into the villa. The audience voted for him to go on a date with Timna, but he just had eyes for Eden, which caused drama between Eden and Assad. Eden said she needed Assad to be more passionate with her, and he was like, okay, lol. Cage and Summer, which started out very lackluster because he chose her and not the other way around. Started becoming more romantic, but he was also crying because he didn't think he was getting enough affection from her. Then it was the first recoupling. Millie and Jay stayed together. Sam and Cage stayed together. Sarah threw a span in the works by picking a side, breaking up the rocky Eden and a side couple. Rochelle picked a good friend, Durang. Timna picked Xavier. And Eden picked the very conservative Ian. And then Lebo and Chris entered the villa. Lebo decided, no, he didn't want to tell us exactly who he's into, but Chris seems to be feeling Millie. All the girls seem to be feeling Lebo.
Mhm.
Ian wins a challenge, gets to date with a girl of his choosing in the hot tub. He chooses Rochelle. Rochelle's like, "Well, okay, we're still just friends," and that's how it ends. So, is there anything I miss, guys?
Sure.
No, you pretty much hit the
I
nail on
think
the
you
head.
actually nailed it.
I
Yeah,
forgot to
you nailed it.
say,
But it was just
Ian saying that Sarah wasn't conservative enough for him.
yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Mm.
Yeah, I do like Ian, but I was like, this is Love Island, bro. This is, it's not some other reality show where you can get looking for women with conservative
Mm.
values. Not that they don't have conservative values, but I'm
Go
like,
to Cake Net
bro, come on.
and
Also,
beer.
yes, how much more conservative do you want? We South African, we are already conservative as is, and how much more conservative do you want? Because at the moment we in
Exactly.
Friendship Island, because
Yeah.
we seeing bits of romance, but it's just pretty much lots of friends friend
And I'm
pairings.
and I'm glad you brought that up
Mm.
because I do think it's a South African thing to be a conservative, and I think we're very self-aware that we are on camera. This is so no one kind of
Mm.
wants to make too much of a wrong move. I do feel that some are within themselves a bit, and that's coming through. But in the same breath, I don't want to be too harsh on Islanders because this you can't trust this editing team to like build a narrative just yet. So that's why I'm reluctant to go hard at
Mm.
someone because I feel like we're missing so many plot lines, just generally speaking.
Can we talk about the fact that like we had a whole episode dedicated to a conflict
Oh
that we
my
didn't see?
gosh.
Exactly.
That's what I was saying. I was a little bit
Exactly.
disappointed that we
It
weren't
was
going to get
like
unseen bits because I thought like that was a huge chunk of an unseen bit.
it's
Yeah.
a whole episode and we just missed it because of technical difficulties, and then the voiceover dude's like, "Oh, just technical difficulties," thinking that
Okay,
we'd all
so
be
let's
okay with
explain
it.
Yeah.
the conflict we were talking about is between Durang and Timna, Emily.
And
So
Millie, yeah.
so catch me
Mm.
up. Everyone is talking about something in the bed, a situation in the bed with Timna and Durang. So what happened?
Mm.
Mm.
Like, what did you guys pick up that happened?
Because we had to
In
pick
my
up
mind,
bits.
I'm thinking that they obviously had a bit of a blowout about their whole situation. Because I don't necessarily, because it was only after 2 days, so I don't, I see both sides. Like, I just feel
Mm,
Duran just came out all guns blazing, he was perhaps a bit too flirty, and I don't think he has the finesse yet. He's still a bit immature. He doesn't have the finesse to maybe chat to
mm,
two women at the same time. I just he's lacking that finesse. I think he was just too going too hard, and Timna wasn't about that. So I do understand where Timna's coming from.
mm.
He was just too
But
active.
sorry, I'm
Yeah,
like,
and then like do
no.
dragging.
I'm just
Sorry,
like,
it's
I
fine.
don't like, I don't understand you. Like, I think everybody needs to go into Love Island with a bit of a like a bit of a friendship island type vibe because there's no one you're going to be 100% committed to within the first few days. So you have to kind of moving between people, just finding out who you like. Because your first couple is literally just your life, like your entrance into the villa, and anything after that is like you getting to know people. But I think what Timna was upset with was that he was hiding information or he wasn't being honest, which is what I got from it. Or he was making up stories about Millie, like everything is sexual. Play when she said play it back, I mean
Yeah,
like
So I think
yeah.
it's the thing.
Yeah. Play it
But
back. Play
it was
it back.
funny, and then everyone on Twitter was like, "Cool, they can't play it back. They don't have it to play it back." But that's the thing I think that people have to get used to, especially like years that like they, it's like everyone else who kind of has watched the show knows that like you don't. Everyone just pays up. There's
mm,
always that one couple that will pay up from the beginning to the end. But other than that, everyone else just like, okay, we're here. We're gonna figure it out as we go along, and then like that's what we do. But I think it's because maybe we're not so used to like casual dating that it's still a
mm,
bit weird for people to like now, oh, we just paid up and it's like it's a thing, but it's not a thing, but it's a thing. So
Yeah. And I also think like yeah, I always try and put myself in that situation.
mm,
It isn't lekker to be rejected. Let's be honest. And
yeah.
I always worry like about because everyone's super young, early 20s, and I worry how they're gonna handle their emotions, especially if someone's talking to another guy. I do worry about that. Luckily, Love Island's super controlled with the alcohol thing, so maybe tempers won't uh, flare up. But I do feel I do worry that how these guys are gonna handle their emotions when things get really serious because
mm,
like you said it's friendship island at the moment, people still feeling their way, but I honestly feel despite the casting errors, despite the editing, despite the narrator, I'm not 100%
I'm
sure
like
about Warren
20% sure.
Robertson just yet. I'm
10%.
willing to give him a chance,
Every episode he loses
but
10%. Uh,
I'm not a fan. It's cringe.
Yeah, and we did miss a beat with the hosting narratorship there. There's no doubt there was a. I think there was a
mm,
opportunity to get someone really spicy. I'm not saying the guy can't do it, but it's not feeling. It doesn't have that premium edge. And but the Love Island UK guy, Ian Sterling, he's a very tough act to
yeah,
follow. So I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting those heights. But there's not a.
I think Warren
I don't know.
Robertson is
There's
a
just
little
something missing.
old
There's an edge missing.
for Love Island. I mean, I don't think he's a bad
Yeah.
narrator. I just think he's bad for this. Like he's done other work where he's been great at, but this requires certain level of
Mm,
it's, I mean, like a certain level of understanding the trashiness, but also like being like young and in the kind of vogue of what they're into, and what what the islanders are like
yeah.
as like in that kind of age group. So I mean, I don't think they should have taken like a 20-year-old.
Mm,
I'm saying like just someone a little bit more in tune with what they are like kind of into.
yeah.
I do think they missed a beat with that one.
And also someone not scared to like say this guy is hot, because it's a thing of you're selling me this
Mm,
fantasy of like these are really hot people, and if you're like this dude that's being awkward about the fact that I'm like, I get it that you're straight, that's fine, but like you have to sell that this dude is hot, because otherwise I need to buy the thing more. That like I can also see, but it's also a thing of like I understand, like with a woman also, like you need to really sell that
mm,
these people are smoking hot and that they design
Agreed.
like everything, because that's part of like allure of Love Island. It's like
That's so true.
you have to kind of just like make us be like ooh, and then get us talking about them, because you have to feel that like attraction and that heat coming off them. So, and he's not selling that for me.
That's actually so true. I remember, like in the UK one, I don't know if you guys remember Muggy Mike, rest in peace.
Yes.
So the narrator there sold him so well. Even I was like, "Yo, Muggy Mike is handsome AF," you know.
yeah.
So I do. It is important. It is
So,
important.
okay, let's talk about the Eden, Assad, Xavier, Sarah situation. So, firstly,
Oof,
I think that it's a.
I
I made
love
some
that
notes
Eden
here.
and Assad are like the colored stereotype come to life. They just were there for the beginning, and then they're just like they were the only couple going steady from jump, and then already the second day is making a coffee stuff in bed.
And
I
the
was
third
like,
day
yo,
is
this
making her
man.
cry. So, it's
And the
exactly like
toasting
all of
also.
my history. So,
Yeah,
I related so much.
I, I have. Yeah, for me, there's so many dynamics to this whole relationship with Aaron and Assad. Like so many. I will say this, just adding Xavier into the mix. I feel like the Xavier
Mm,
Aaron conversation at the pool when they mentioned Rondebosch East and stuff, that was super relatable. But for me, that was like the first
mm,
flirty conversation, first natural conversation of the whole season. I actually left that scene smiling because there
mm.
was genuine banter. I felt they were very comfortable with each other.
Oh,
Not sure how you guys feel.
Someone else pointed out that like clearly one of the producers might have gone over, be like, so Aaron, can you just talk to Xavier about being colored, because other people are confused about the fact that like the two of you are very light. The two of you are very light, so maybe just have the conversation, because I was like, that conversation came out, it was so funny, but it was also like, this is so relatable, because now we're talking about Belleville and like all this accents and stuff, and it was like Rondebosch East. I was like,
Rondebosch
wow.
East. I was like, hey, because I grew up in Crawford, so I was like, there has been a few times where I might have said I live in Rondebosch East. So I got that. But just on Aaron and actually Assad, their whole vibe,
mm,
I thought it was cool at the start. But like after 4 or 5 days, they haven't hooked up. I just don't think
mm,
they're that into each other, or perhaps Assad is not that into him. I think Assad is a very smart guy. I think he's super measured. He's very self aware of what he's doing. I get that sense, and I don't get the sense that he's too
mm.
that into Aiden. I think
Yeah, I also
he's
think
willing to
so.
see other
I mean,
options.
I was all for it in the beginning because it seemed like they liked each other. And then, but then I just started to realizing that
Mm.
Eden is actually way more into him than he's into her. And I don't think you also like can handle the
mm,
month, like the
mm,
intensity that's coming off her. And
yeah.
Did you see his face during the game
yes,
when she was touching him because it came up and then the face that Assad pulled when Aaron was
he
What
touching
looked
was
him.
that face?
like he like
What was that
awkward,
face?
man. Like he didn't want her to touch. Yeah, it was the
It
ick.
was the ick. It was the. It's like
There we go.
It's like
Yeah.
okay, but that no no. So it was yeah.
I feel, yeah. So that kind of, for me, drives home the point that perhaps he's not that into her. Like they cool and stuff, but I don't think that, because I'm sorry, guys, speak from your own experience. But if you genuinely like someone, you, let's say you're on holiday with them in a holiday house, and after 4 days you kind of haven't kissed, there would be concerns there. And I know that we all take our own time, but if I like someone after night two, I would love just a kiss, because we're feeling
But
each
also,
other.
like,
But
it's not like they have
yeah,
anything
I don't
else to
know if
do. So it's
that's the
not like
case
they're
there.
working or anything. That's all I got to do.
Yeah,
And
like,
someone else also pointed out like that like especially kind of when you're within the house your relationship will move at a faster
Mm,
pace because you're not going anywhere, you're spending like day in and day out with this person, so naturally things are going to move at a faster pace. So the fact that
mm,
like yeah, outside of that game that one of the first games that they played that they haven't had a kiss is like it's a red flag, and I was really rooting for them. Like I was
mm.
there, they were my
mm.
couple, they were cute, I was like yes guys, they were the cute couple, and now I'm just like, Ish, Aaron, what are you doing? So
Can, can I ask you guys? Sorry, it's almost like it's my podcast, but I was wanting to see how other people took this. Was how Assad reacted um, after
Mm.
Eden spoke about the more affection thing. I felt it was a bit overblown, but
Yes,
in
that's
this
what I
case,
was
I
gonna
also
say.
feel like we're missing scenes here. But
yes, yeah.
for me, Assad seemed to like he took
Mm.
it a bit too harshly, and I felt he was too hard on Eden, like almost like a bit of a dick. Sorry.
No, like it's a very valid point. Sorry to interrupt. Like, that's how I feel because it was a thing of maybe we're missing something from the edit because now that's always something we must keep in the back of our minds. But like it was a thing of like I was like my dude, it wasn't that serious, and like he was blowing it out of proportion. I was like, is it maybe like
Mm.
past relationship drama that's now having him react this way? But uh yeah, it did seem a bit weird, but also
I
could be
think it
the
was the
edit.
ick, to
So
be honest. Like
Mm,
I think it's like when somebody starts annoying you and everything they do starts to annoy. So that's what I thought it was. But I mean, I also like, as you guys both said, I didn't know. I thought it
yeah,
was the edit because I was like, did we see a scene where she was going around talking badly about him to everybody? Because I didn't. I saw her talking to Summer, which is her friend, and she
yeah,
has every right to speak to her friend about it. He talks to his friends about everything. He's gonna all day. So like, sounds like she has every right to
yeah.
do that. But then I was like, is she now talking to Xavier Durang, everyone now about him? Yeah, and he's back and making him look like an asshole because I didn't see that. But but I also partly think that he's
Mm.
done. He seems done with her, and he just wants looking for a
Yeah, that's
reason to
my,
blow it out of proportion.
yeah. But they don't seem to have that natural chemistry. I mean, aside perhaps I think there's a lot more layers to Assad as a character, but I don't think Aiden's
Mm.
perhaps going to bring that out in him. So I don't think they don't have that natural chemistry where I found with Xavier they were bantering properly. That felt supernatural, and I like Aiden. I think she also has a lot to offer.
Mm.
She's chatting to all the girls, giving them advice, so there's a lot to
But
like about her.
do you think that Xavier, do you think that her and Xavier is going to happen? Or do you think she's not into it? Because people were saying that she told Timna to pick him.
Theo, you want to have a go?
it. Oh, we're talking
Yeah,
about
Eden and
now.
Xavier.
Aaron and Xavier. They I think they the couple that at the beginning they tried to avoid each other, like oh no, and then later down the line, the eventual we all saw is going to happen because as Carl said, like their chemistry and stuff
mm,
is just like you they buzzing around each other, and now Xavier's trying with Millie, and I'm just like, and then that conversation was really awkward. I'm not gonna lie, because like when Millie's
Yes.
like sexual chemistry is why with you they would try, and I was like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah. uh, and before that scene, Theo, before that scene, I in my notes I said Xavier's been part of the two most natural, like
Mm.
mm,
humanly scenes. The one was with Aiden, and the other one was with Durang. When Durang said the guy said he lives in Bantry Bay, and I laughed quite hard at that. But then we moved to the Millie
mm,
conversation. And I felt he was super stiff, like his
Mm.
natural self perhaps didn't come out. I would love to see if anything happens there, but I felt he wasn't like himself. He
mm.
seemed like a very cool, affable guy that people seem to like to chat to. I didn't see that with Millie, so interested to see how that goes.
And the funny thing with Carl was just the when he said, "Oh, I'm over my whole phase," and everyone's like, "But sir, you're only 21. You only
Exactly.
21. What are
You
you
probably
talking
still got
about?"
two or three
It's
more
so
left.
unlike South
You probably,
Africa.
honestly.
Like this is why I would maybe believe that POCs weren't entering the bachelors and the bachelorettes because young people aren't ready to settle down in South Africa. We settle down quite late, but also
Mm,
that like they will be more likely to enter a show like Love Island because it's just for fun. Like, I mean, yes, it's people looking for love, but I mean,
yeah.
that, it's more like I'm looking for a boyfriend more than I'm looking for a husband type situation. So that's how I was like, that's why I was like,
Mm,
them finding it difficult to find castmates. I find it harder to believe with Love Island than with like the other type dating
mm,
shows.
mm.
So, mm,
Uh, I find that hard to believe as well. Yeah.
but like,
I mean, there's so many dating reality shows with POCs, and this is
mm,
Love Island is popular, and people of color have been watching the international versions of Love Island, like a whole host, like Murad Murali, he does uh, reviews of Love Island. There's so many
mm,
South Africans and POCs that watch this UK guy's reviews of Love Island. So I don't believe that there wasn't enough people of color entering. I, we haven't even discussed the production meet, how these guys are making the decisions. It's just like, how did you
mm,
not know this was going to happen? This was going to be the fallout. It's ridiculous.
S- So some sidebar information that like I just happened to stumble across once was that um via someone who had told me this, but it was someone within like multi choice and stuff, had that Love Island, just the UK version was one of their kind of top shows, and they were trying to kind of, because I asked about season 5, and then there was like a, this was before we got it, and it was a thing of like, oh, we don't actually really want to say that this is kind of like one of the big shows in SA, because then
mm,
they're going to charge us more to kind of get the show. Yeah, so
Oh.
it was like, so they were trying to kind of like almost like, yeah, underplay how big of a thing like the show is kind of with their audience and stuff. So that was just really interesting.
The production team have definitely tried to undersell how much the show is worth, because I mean it's been poor, seriously. I mean, if they really wanted to, they've really showed how little people care with their production. If that's supposed to showcase how important the show is, then it's
but I
clearly
mean,
not
I
important.
like, yeah, but
It was
like
some of
people.
the best fun,
But I mean, I do think it's
dragging
it's
it.
it's working, like the dragging, because it's getting better, and I think they're
Mm-hmm.
starting to realize, like, shit, we need to get our stuff in order.
Mm,
Yes, yes.
100%.
Can we
That's what
just
I thought.
acknowledge that last
Yeah.
night's episode was the best one so far?
Yes, I wrote it in my notes. Like in terms of their scenes
Mm,
and like just building their narratives, it was the best. I did say the narrator needs to give context more with before scenes. You don't
mm,
hear his voice; we're just moving from scene to scene, and I think that's important. But just on that, like I think I can always get invested in
yeah.
people, and that's why I know I'll watch this to the end. Despite the production stuff, I feel like there's enough for me to get invested into some of the people. So I'm here till the end. So nothing's gonna stop me from watching this, despite
For me,
how
it's
poor
like
the
I'm actually
production
just
has been.
deeply curious. Like, I'm so in. This is the first time we've had a multiracial dating show, like a like purely multiracial dating show, in a
Mm,
long time. Like I can't. Maybe in the '90s we had like type shows, but like not like this. Just to understand like how far we've come as a
Mm,
country, just see how people will date within or outside their racial lines, how we treat different like people of different races
mm,
within like this context. Like we can always go off of like stories or what people have told us about their lives, but we haven't had a chance to see it up close on our screens. Like, we can, I mean, we can talk about UK and US and all that stuff, but
mm.
like South Africa is like such a interesting chasm of a country, and it's been such a short time that we've been properly integrated. So
absolutely.
how does that affect um dating and relationships 20 years into the future? I think, like, as a social anthropology project on itself, it's very interesting, and I think that's what's going to keep me watching till the end, just to see how it moves, and how they do their things.
It's super fascinating because, especially when you consider that, like, we have an Asian population that even us in general, like, we don't acknowledge because we sometimes forget about the fact that we
Mm,
have an Asian population in this country, and
Mhm.
it's a thing of like we have like a large Chinese contingent, but also like a growing kind of like just people from other kind of Asian countries and stuff that like are settling here and like they're having children who are
mm,
South African Asians, and that's also like how many of us also know friends that are of Asian descent also, and like they
Yeah,
mix up in like the, and that's just like that whole thing also just about being South African. It's like we haven't even really delved into that and what that
yeah,
means, because like it's just so fascinating. And yeah, we're only now starting to kind of like make our
yeah.
way and kind of like see all this, but Karen, you has a very amazing point and it's so fascinating.
I agree, and I think just you were talking about South Africa specifically, and the human stories out of South Africa. That is what's fascinating, and I think for us guys who love Ireland, it's always about the people. We None of us are like, oh, there's guys with hot bodies.
mm.
Oh, that chick's hot. I'm gonna watch every day. It's about that human relations and how the dynamics of these groups work. That's what's fascinating about Love Island. I mean, the nice bodies and the hot women
Mm.
and good looking guys, that's a bonus. But it's all about the human relationships, and that's why I love Love Island.
Okay. So, who haven't we spoke about yet? Uh, something. Oh, we spoke,
Durang, did we speak
but
about
we
that?
can talk about him again if you
Oh,
have
No,
more
we
to
did.
say.
we
Did
did,
we?
but
Yeah, we
like
did.
Do we? Okay,
No, we
Simon
did. We did. We
Cage.
did.
Okay, wait,
but
no,
you're
no, no.
right, like
Theo, you tell us about
he
Durang
was
first.
very okay. So, so guys, for how long did we struggle to understand what Yurang was saying? Firstly, because man was talking in sentences, and we all just like, huh? Like, and then he's talking, and then I'm like, okay, I'm following your train of thought, and then it's like we're spinning in circles, and then Timna's also looking at him like, mm. She's nodding, and then she just walks away. Like I'm so confused, and it literally took us 3 days to figure out what Duran was saying. Ah,
I I think he was obviously the for the first few
Mm,
episodes he was like the main
mm,
attraction, and I was glad we kind of got to see, because I said, like, after episode 2 I want to see new narratives.
mm,
I want to see how the other islanders are doing, but he did dominate the first 2 episodes, and I think he obviously has that kind of energy. He's
mm,
got the alpha. He's a big guy. He is good looking. He has the chat, but like I said, he doesn't have
mm.
that finesse just yet. He's too excited when he's chatting away. I do feel we should keep a nice eye on him. I'm interested to see how he develops and who actually he starts maybe getting closer to. Will he get closer to someone? I feel he's a fascinating character to like keep an eye on to see
Mm.
how this thing progresses.
yeah, like we barely saw anyone else other than like Timna and Yurang the first 2 episodes. Because I was like,
I
are
literally
there
forgot
other
about
Love
Drake.
Islanders? Because
I
I
was
was
like,
like, where
oh,
are
he
the
only came
people?
in one. I was like, who's this
I
guy?
didn't, I didn't know his name. I just saw dude with a black cap.
shit, but they did edit it that way, and I think Jay is
Mm,
obviously a super reserved guy. He's just a like a boichi, like the way when Xavier came to talk to him last night
Mm.
in last night's episode.
mm,
I thought he handled that very maturely. Um, I don't think there's a lot of game there, but like Ian, there's something about him that you like. Nah, I like you, bro.
mm.
I can deal with you definitely. But he doesn't have that
Yeah.
vibe that perhaps Durang has or
I
Xavier.
don't think
Um, yeah,
anyone's close to Xavier at this moment. Like,
we I'm so, and I'll be honest with you. When he first came on, I was super surprised at how his character has developed. How suddenly he's the one
mm,
that's having the most interesting conversations. And I wrote in my notes that I feel like he's one of the
mm.
more authentic people in there. The more I watched him, the more I was like, nah, you're quite cool. I get a good vibe from you.
I'm not on the Xavier boat yet, but he's winning me over
A lot.
slowly.
Uh,
Who's on your boat though?
My queen Timna. We are here for Queen Timna. She and guys, Rochelle, our Messi queen, is also her and
yes,
Assad, the
yes.
two gossip aunties of the house.
She
We
Yes,
love
yes.
it.
stirs
We love it,
all the
and you
pot
need
all
those
the time.
people.
I was like, when she was talking to Asad like that, I'm like, girl, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you talk about Rochelle? So yeah, I like I said she has like a Cruella de Vil vibes, but in a good way. Because I
Yes.
feel like Cruella de Vil is
Mm,
she's like a Machiavellian type character. She's super smart. She knows how to play the game, and that kind of draws me to her because she
yeah.
does seem like she loves a bit of drama and a little bit of Skinner, and I like
Mm,
that.
mm.
So I feel like she plays an interesting role in this show. She hasn't found love, but she's making things happen
I
and
love the
moving
fact that
things
she was
along in a
like,
weird way.
she's telling Asad, no, Eden has, like, Eden likes Xavier. Eden doesn't even know Eden likes Xavier, but she feels it's her duty to tell Asad that. And I'm like, but why? And then she's like, no, but we're
Yeah,
protecting Eden by by opening her up to. I'm like, girl, what are you doing? If that's what friends do, I don't want no friends.
I was
No.
also like,
Oh,
yeah, her and I think her and Tibna also had some they were having a chat about. I think she was talking to
Eden.
Tibna about
Uh,
um, the Xavier side situation. She was very vocal about
mm.
Xavier side and Eden. Rochelle, now that I come to think of it, throughout the week she was speaking to Tibna about it. So yeah, very
So,
interesting.
like, when Eden watches this back and she realizes that it was Rochelle who actually was laying the seeds in Assad's head that, do you think, sorry guys, I was just asking as to like South African men, do you think that there's a whole kind of like defensiveness about like, so what I first realized when Cage came out and nobody stood forward for him, like he seemed to get like a bit of a chip on his shoulder, but also the other guys, they only went for the girls who stood forward for them.
Mm,
So it's like, it has to be somebody that's showing interest. So, and with Aside, what I'm kind of seeing is maybe, okay, maybe he wasn't all that interested in Eden, but also once there became another person who he thought that Eden might like more, he all of a sudden steps back. So it's like if they don't get it like
mm.
the recognition, they sort of, it puts them off. And like with the other Love Islands, like I would, like we would obviously see like the first episode, if they like a girl and they're with another guy and the girl didn't stand forward for them, they will still pick that girl because that's who they want. And like and in this show, the only person I think who could maybe do that is Xavier. I see him picking somebody off somebody else. But in this show, it's almost like if you don't show me
mm,
that you want
yeah.
me, I'm not going to do anything. But do you think it's a South African man way of thinking?
I would say I think it's generally speaking it's perhaps a men way of thinking. I think there is a part of us that wants to be shown that we wanted. Like Cage was talking about that quite a bit. And with regards to Assad, when you said I also felt as soon as Xavier was in the mix,
Mm,
then suddenly he was a bit cold. He's just seeing, but he played it very well. That's why I say he's a smart guy. He
Yeah.
wasn't overly like I'm stepping back. He's just like,
mm,
nah, whatever happens, happens. I think he's smart like that. But I do think it does affect one's ego if there is another player in the game, and that's why I felt his response to the whole affection thing was maybe a bit over the top. I am leaving something out there in case we miss something in terms of the editing, but I do feel he came a bit
mm,
hard and he was a bit defensive with that whole affection thing. It didn't sit well with me.
I do think it's maybe also a thing of like we are so big on not wanting to
mm,
be with people who don't want to be with us. So even like the slightest, it was like the slightest thing of like, yes, Assad kind of like did kind of like step back and he was like, if you want to vibe with Xavier, go right ahead. But it's a thing of he like you just like you don't want to now step on someone's like toes or like feel like you kind of like holding on to them when they don't want to be there because I think that's a big thing that plays with like a lot of like dudes minds. It's like, well then why am I even trying? And that's very kind of like different from the other versions and stuff because and that's what kind of like the UK one is so spicy because the dude will be like, no, we can both date this
mm,
girl and we're gonna see who she picks.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
like South Africans are not used to that. Even now, I think with like the Bachelorette, which I haven't really been watching, but I've just seen bits and pieces. But it's a thing of like when you look at that, this is kind of the first time we see like a
mm,
woman dating multiple men at the same time, and the men are just
Mm.
like kind of sort of okay with it. Like yes, they're kind of getting jealous, but they also understand that this is my relationship and I need to focus on
Yeah.
this with her, like regardless of what she's doing. And in all honesty, it's gonna kind of it's good kind of like representation and kind of like helping South African men kind of I think move forward because now it's a thing of like okay
mm.
I don't own this girl but like she can date whoever she wants to and we need more of that because we all know that
Yeah.
toxic masculinity is real in this country.
Absolutely. In a side's defense, because I feel like I have been coming hard at him. I wrote on episode 4 when Xavier entered that Aside, okay, he seemed smart and he came across as level-headed the way he handled it. Like, yes, go on the date, it's all good. But I think post date,
Mm,
uh, his vibe kind of changed. Initially, I thought he handled it really well, very maturely. But then post date, affection thing, something went amiss there.
Absolutely. Like I have to disagree with Cole because like for me when I watched that episode, Assad handled that whole situation from beginning to like after the date perfectly. Like bookmark like got a gold star from how he did that. It's like no, it's fine and everything. It was after the date that then he started like acting up, but everything else before that I was like, okay, this we need to see more of
do you
this.
guys think Assad's gonna
Mm.
find somebody
Yeah.
else? Do you think someone will come in? Uh, I do think he's one of the
Yes.
guys the girls like, though.
Well, I'm.
No, I think that
You
the
think
girls
one of
in
the girls
general
likes
like
him?
him. Like,
Hmm. Like he comes level. He
mm,
comes across as very level-headed, and yeah, he's a very interesting. And the whole Durang thing, we haven't
yeah.
actually touched on that when he said he's gonna go talk to Durang. There's a bit of like there's some tension there, which I'm here for. I'm interested to see how that goes. But we spoke about new girls like coming in. I mean, I'm worried about the girl that they just made dance in the vineyards. There's a girl dancing in a bikini in the vineyards.
It
Is
was so
she
And when is she
awkward.
okay?
coming in?
What is
Because I
she
feel like she's been
doing?
dancing for three episodes already.
Three
And we
days in
haven't
the
like they haven't told
vineyards,
us she must
bro.
vote for someone they're
Yo,
gonna date with her. They haven't
That's
told. Yeah, no.
and
Uh,
yeah.
I'm
but
not the
like
biggest fan of
I
like the
do
only
think
thing
that
about with this editing was this is like we get these people so far in advance like and then like we
It's
only
weird.
like by the time they get in the valley you're like oh you
Yeah.
mm,
Theo, you said that like Timna, you here for Timna, and
but
I feel
like
like we haven't spoken a
the
lot
new
about
guys.
Timna, and I feel like she was the big focus of.
Okay. Yeah, no. Let's talk about them now.
So sh- a whole mood. She's honestly like her facial expressions, and also she's just sitting there to be like judging everyone also Loki, and she's like, I'm not here for this. This is like not on. And like I love that she was able to take Durang on because
Mm.
she wasn't willing to just take his like his what he was saying on face value. So like, and she was like, no, and she's also trying to kind of like suss out who could possibly be there for. But she's also like, before Libo came in, she was like, no, none of these people are my cup of tea.
Yeah, I mean, the she's really
Mm.
good looking. I have to say that. I think she's
She's
seriously good
stunning.
looking. Um, and I think the moment that encapsulated why I like her a lot in last night's episode, she was like, "Let's always objectify men." It was like the last thing of the scene, and I was like, "That is so good." She's super witty. Her and
Uh,
Rochelle, they've got a wittiness about them,
I
which
do think
I'm
that
definitely in for.
like she also has the biggest like currency in the game right now because if like they're paying attention, she is the most popular one. She was the one that got voted to go with Xavier. There's no other reason other than her being super
Mm,
popular. Nobody knew anything about Xavier. There wasn't exactly like there was a Rochelle was single and they picked her
mm,
over Rochelle. And I mean like I mean I don't know who's gonna win this poll
yeah.
now, but we've been doing polls from the podcast and seeing like who people voting for. And like 90% of the people are saying they're voting for Timna.
Mm,
So I mean obviously there's a large contingent of people who aren't on Twitter who are voting. But I
mm,
mean, like between her and Xavier, like they got the most votes.
yeah.
And like so the thing is like if she's smart, she's like, the audience
Yeah.
clearly
That's what she
loves
means.
me. I'm the person you want to team up with.
Yeah. Mm. And she,
And I,
yeah, I agree, and I think for a lot of fans, why she has that currency as well, because if you've watched enough Love Islands, you've seen what happens on the first date to like the Yawandas and the Samiras, and it's just and the same thing happens in
Mhm.
South Africa now, despite us being 80% black, in terms of population. So I think that's honestly why besides her being cool and everything, but a lot of my currency I give to her is because
Mm.
we've been on this rodeo before, man, where the black woman is picked last, or there's only one option, or I don't know. I just feel like I've seen that opening first show before many
Yeah,
times.
And like
very true.
the problem is that I would love to see a white man pick a black woman. I'm just gonna say that outright.
Mm, yes, yeah,
I
and
completely
I don't.
agree.
Did you guys?
Is it
Especially
gonna
kind of,
happen?
well, especially like I think yeah, we have
Because
a
like I
more
mean we've seen so far.
we do kind of tend to have a fair share of interracial couples.
Yeah, we've seen
So
so far, like, we've seen white women or be willing to date outside of their race, but we aren't seeing that. Even like when Ian was the last one left, and I'm like, Ian said Sarah was too conservative for him. Now he's got a choice between a colored woman and a black woman. Um, how's that going to go down with his family?
Yeah, yeah. If you I don't see which of the current white guys would necessarily. If I had to put money
Mm,
on someone, perhaps Jay. But I don't know where it's. Like I don't feel after 1 week. Maybe because it's 1 week, or maybe because it's editing. I don't know. I can't predict their next moves like with confidence. But if I had to put money on it, I would probably say Jay might be the first. Are you guys hearing me,
yeah. I just went.
Karen? Okay, are we all good?
Okay, so here's the thing. The Love Island production demons that haunted the Love Island set haunted the podcasting section too. So even though we recorded quite a bit of audio this morning, some of it did not come through because of internet problems apparently around the Western Cape. And so a large portion was cut out, especially from my audio, which means that everything else was messed up. And because we are trying to record and release today, the turnaround time means that we just did not even have enough time to fix it. Also, I'm doing the editing, which I apologize to you guys. So I'm just going to play a little clip now of Carl and Theo giving their handles and saying where you can find them. And then otherwise, catch us back next week. We'll have two new guests and a lot of other chatter about whatever's happening in Love Island.
Oh, well, I'm really only on Twitter at Carl underscore Lewis ZA. But I don't think I'm like a religious poster of Love Island. So there's mainly sports, but there is the odd Love Island there because I don't like to tweet during Love Island because I'm focused on my notes for your show, Karen. So maybe post show.
And I am on, like, mostly on Twitter at the Lion Matters, and I do sometimes live tweet the show, and it does, you do like miss some things, but for the most part, you kind of like having to like watch and tweet is very interesting. But you can't miss out on the mess. Twitter is just too lit because sometimes something funny will happen on there, and you just like, it's just fun. It's just fun. So yeah, I'm at the Lion Matters on Twitter.